could see that Slark finally got his axe there, so saving detachment with the
I don't play Slark. I barely play against Slark. I don't encounter Slark in my pubs ever these days, but it sounds like it should work. I'll have to try that out in a demo in a little bit to see how that transpires.
Hopefully we're gonna see it in this games, because I'm pretty sure I saw it doesn't work, and actually people were crying online for it not working. You know, you're kind of haha, I'm gonna counter this void, and suddenly you're not countering anything. So, you know, there are interactions in Dota that either aren't meant to do that, to be that way, but you know, haven't been fixed yet, or really are meant to be that way, even though it's not logical to us mortals.
Yeah, you know, Ice Frog, Gaben, they love weird stuff, and they continue to bring us weird stuff in terms of mechanics.
You continue to love it as well.
Sometimes, like the Mars one still pisses me off, where the patch notes is like you can't leave it horizontally anymore, and then like half the heroes still can leave it horizontally, and you're like, yeah, sure, this makes no, like you can still cookie out of it, bro. Just say that you cannot torn spear someone out of the arena anymore. Make it more specific. Jump in, coming through. They do get the kill onto the Grimstroke. Another Chronosphere comes out. A very nice one. Salad does throw out his thing. I don't actually know if it worked in the process, because DK was not the one being targeted, but the rest of the team is. And now that, of course, the PA has been taken care of, there's just no damage left for LBZS. They're running it down on the side of YG. And that DK is pretty tanky, but he's not that tanky. He's going to get stunned up and locked in position the entire time through. They find a big fight, and yet Chrono is still a very deadly tool.
It definitely is. With the Enigma dying at the start of the fight, there was just no way for LBZS to win a long, drawn-out fight. You know, Grimstroke is probably the best target for you to kill right off the bat, because the Ink Swell can surprise you, heal someone back up to full, and completely destroy your teamfight. But even with him being dead, immediate buyback, they still have the mid lane tower in Yangon, and it's impossible. The early game went so bad for LBZS that currently, even if it starts out well for them, they just don't have the tools to fight.
There's looking for more here though. YG 11k net with advantage, still not insurmountable, but right now it is looking pretty rough with the TA. Just Chrono dead. It's kind of going to be the same pace the entire time. Could possibly dodge it with a blink, which would almost automatically give you a superb chance to win the team fight. That Chrono is going to be the biggest nuisance yet, and now that KSH will get himself the Aegis on top. Alchemist also has a Heaven's Halberd, so disarming the TA is going to be huge to work with as well. This Void Spirit's getting everything for free. The free shard, the free Ags. It's looking disastrous. Salad jumping in onto KSH. Can they get the kill here? It's dropping a little bit of HP. Actually going for that Bane. Pops him up heavy. Kagome. Yeah, he's just going to get kited for the most part. Actually, KSH jumps right back to the TA. Aggressively going in onto the DK. Doesn't really take that much damage in the process. And
black hole
going to be just nice. But the black hole on the Void Spirit does disengage at the very least. And the Void Spirit should be able to get away. They're chasing him down. He jumps left and right. He is too elusive. And the GG gets called. And you were almost spot on.
Yeah, almost. I actually expected the LBZS to get crushed more and just kind of refuse to GG out. But yeah, the thing is, they did get a few fights. You're still always gonna hit this timing with the TA, where you're gonna be doing the damage, gonna be able to bring down some heroes, and obviously with a lot of confidence coming out from Yangon and Galacticos, there were some chances for LBZS to win a fight, but not really to win the game. I would say after that kind of a start, any decent Dota team is gonna beat you. And Yangon, we've already talked about it. I mean, they can play even much higher Dota than that.
Yeah, Young PH looked very good. Honestly, so far this series, Young PH has been looking very good. The Panglian game #1, this time around on the Void Spirit. They were hyper aggressive on that mid lane. The DK, you know, it's a mid laner that just kind of like evens out the lane. It always has a pretty decent lane. But the hero also doesn't really bring much more after, or in playmaking potential, and that was kind of the issue here, because of course they went for the Enigma again. I thought that maybe the Slark could do some shenanigans or whatnot to be a bit of an initiator or make some plays around the map, but yeah, they had... Now LBZS was the lineup that were lacking an initiator, a playmaker on their side. They didn't have like the Tiny from last game who made a lot of the plays across the map, and yet that really did them dirty because they just could not move aggressively against the Void Spirit lineup.
Anything that LBZS tried failed. They screwed up the safe lane a lot with the Viper dying multiple times and even the DA dying. And then they kind of thought, okay, our lanes aren't going well in terms of kills. We're okay in CS. Let's try to play around our DK because we can get kills there. But the thing is, they didn't count on it that Void Spirit and the Grimstroke are actually stronger than all three of them. They came in with the level 3 Slark, does nothing in the mid lane. They came in with the level 3 Viper against the Void Spirit, almost does nothing. And the second that the mid lane went bad, those fights around there, I think the game at that point was over. After it was just LBZS just trying to scrap themselves together, but we could see that it was to no avail.
It was a bit of a struggle. The Slark just not really having any impact in the game, unfortunately. Viper as well. Like, Viper as a core tends to fall off in the game. Viper as a support, if you already have a terrible lane, you are literally paperweight. Like, there's no use for you in the game. Your break doesn't I guess it interrupts the bashes in that game, but for the most part, you're just an extra. You don't have any stuns, you have a slight slow. There's really no reason to have a Viper at that stage, and yeah, then you're one support down. The enemies, they have supports that are very effective, a Bane and a Grimstroke, not like super aggressive in their approach, but you just give an Inkswell to your Void Spirit, he jumps in, blows them up, and that was really, they had a solid supporting lineup behind them on the side of YG, and that really did do a lot of damage this game. It's just, I think both games the supports have been very exceptional.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned the Viper and how he falls off. I think it's one of the heroes, just like the old techies, you know, that you don't want to have it on your team and you don't want to be playing against it, because if you have it on your team, you're most likely gonna lose, and if it's on the enemy team, sure, you might win, but it's gonna mess with your head, man. So I think that Yangon Galacticos are gonna be feeling very, very happy, considering they crushed the Viper. You know, whenever you see him, like, did you pick that Viper just to annoy me, just to pretty much get my blood pressure up? Well, that didn't happen in this game because he was dead all the time.
Yeah, I definitely am looking forward to seeing stats on what everyone did, especially I want to see the Void Spirit's damage in that game, because Young PH was he was all over the place with the Inkswells, of course, on top of him, but just so I found that his cooldowns were pretty lengthy, and he was kind of lacking damage in the mid game, well, slightly after the mid game, and his farming potential was most of the time a lot lower. But I think with that addition of having the Witchblade, the hero has really become a lot stronger. As you can see right there, 32k damage dealt. No one in the entire game got close. No one's even at 20k.
Yeah, it's insane how much damage he did. And the second one is actually the Grimstroke, who pretty much did all of that damage because of the Void Spirit. You use the Inkswell and you just bail out. It's not like you are going to be doing anything else. And Young PH, the obvious MVP of the game. I don't think that anyone is going to be arguing with that one. He did well in the laning phase. He pretty much carried his team into victory, and they were just kind of his supports in the back.
And he's got that K-pop hair. I'm so jealous.
I'm starting to believe that you're actually trolling all of the people with the hair, and that you're actually happy that you have such a shiny head.
I am pretty happy. Luckily enough, I don't have like the flappiest ears. It's a tiny bit flappy, but luckily I have glasses, so they cover that up perfectly. However, there is still one game to be played. We're going towards a short little break until game number 3, so we'll be right back.
was a thing in the woods. But once a year, it left the woods to feast on us. Then one year, out of the woods came nothing. Another year passed, and another. Over time, we forgot our fear. And turned our backs on the dark. Slivers of the mad moon hang forgotten in our sky, slowly aligning. It is time again. The tide rises and brings with it something dire.
Don't let this party scene fool you. This world is a dangerous place. When you get to be my age, you'll see friends come and go. It's important to take care of the ones still kicking. In the heat of battle, you'd be surprised how far a little kindness might go. But not everyone deserves kindness.
Hello, Auntie.
This all you brought?
Yes.
Oh. Attaboy! I didn't offer to share.
Goodies!
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for game number 3 between LBZS and YG. Definitely an interesting series so far. Both predictions have been correct for Harry Freak, and both have been wrong for me. So that makes me feel very good about myself right now in the early morning. Hopefully game number 3 will be a little bit better for me and slightly worse for Harry Freak. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Harry, game number 2, that laning stage did not go as we expected.
Yeah, I definitely didn't. I actually preferred Yangon Galacticos draft if LBZS win their lanes, you know. So once they lost it, I was like, yeah, this is probably not gonna be a game. But though I'm pretty sure that you're just trying to make me feel good and make me look good, because in the end everyone is gonna say, yo, that play-by-play caster, he is cool, he might not know much about Dota. And then about me, I mean, if I'm not getting my predictions right, like, why are you even here? So I'm gonna thank you here, and everyone has seen through your plans, so you can drop the act there and now start giving us the real predictions that you're actually gonna go for.
Well, you know, I can't. I gotta keep them under wraps. You know, we got that script. We gotta stick to the script. But yeah, it is.
10 seconds
I mean, to be
remaining.
fair, it's been a surprising series. I really
5 seconds
have
remaining.
seen some very interesting aspects so far. The Slark
Dire
specifically.
team pick.
I also do like the fact that LBZS, they first ban out the Void Spirit and then the Puck, probably the 2 strongest mid laners in this current patch, both taken care of immediately. Does mean that, you know, Marcy is still available. The Tiny
Radiant
again
team
could be a
pick.
very big pickup. They are gonna Warlock first pick. What?
Why not? I mean, I have seen a few Warlocks being played.
but first pick.
People do. You know, if you're gonna pick
10
it, just take it early.
seconds
The only
remaining.
thing I want to see right now from Yangon is an aggressive hero with the Warlock. Just
5
don't give me
seconds remaining.
a Warlock Spectre lane, and then the enemies are just gonna take something that last hits better than the Spectre and destroy you. So just please get like a Slark, let's say, or a Ursa, or something that... No Slark? No? Okay.
No Slark, no. I do assume that they picked the Warlock though, because LBZS, you know, they left that Enigma in the hero pool. Maybe they're gonna go for another Enigma pick, and then you got another amazing count to the Enigma Black Hole already in the lineup.
Team pick.
Earth Spirit.
Dire
Ooh,
team
First
pick.
Spirit. And the Viper. Okay, so that I love Earth Spirit. I think it's one of the most interesting
Dire
heroes to
team
watch.
back.
I think it's one of the hardest heroes
Radiant
to
team
play,
back.
for that matter. But I think it was Bowie that said that Marcy is just a better
Dire
version
team
of
back.
Earth Spirit,
Radiant
in
team
his
back.
opinion. And
You told me that? You told me that? And I think last time you told me that someone else said it. So, I mean, get
I
your
thought it
story
was
straight here.
either it was Bowie or it was a Steenie. I don't remember which of the two. It was one of the Brazilians. Might have been a Steenie.
10
then.
seconds
But yeah,
remaining.
you know, I want to hear your opinion about that matter again.
5 seconds remaining.
I personally prefer the Earth Spirit. It's the more manlier of the 2 heroes,
I
obviously.
mean, look at those bulky boulders.
Yeah, for sure. You know,
And actually being
just
a man.
the shoulders are the shoulder,
Dire
shoulder,
team
yeah,
back.
the shoulder. He's a spirit, so we don't know. Who knows? Either way.
To be fair, I'm assuming his gender. I should not do that.
Yeah, please don't do it. Please don't do it, DkTruman. It is not an okay thing to do. But I think Earth Spirit is in Europe underrated. He's not being
10
played as much.
seconds
I see him
remaining.
in other regions, and he's actually doing pretty solid. He's one of
Radiant
the
team
best
back.
heroes to play against the Warlock. To be frank, Warlock hates playing against the Earth Spirit. Your spells don't do anything against him, literally. because he goes in on you. He's usually not close to his teammates, or if he is close to you if you're a warlock, so he destroys you. So I'm liking this
10
pick, and
seconds
with these
remaining.
2 picks, I think LBZS, they are done experimenting. They're gonna be
5
going with
seconds
the
remaining.
with things that they're comfortable with. And Earth Spirit and the Viper, you don't really you know, the Earth Spirit players, they can always use the spells of this hero well, and then you have the Viper just to be even more annoying. So I'm liking their opening thus far.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a dangerous lane to deal with, and Earth Spirit is one of the biggest, funnest heroes to play because you have so many plays that you can make. I don't know how they do it. You know, one of my favorite players back in the day was always Jarrett's, because his Earth Spirit was like beyond god tier, with Aghanim Scepters and whatnot, and then you shatter everyone and just roll all over the place. It was glorious, and I really do think that it's one of the most impressive heroes to be a super solid player on. I've played it a couple of times. I really can't play it. The hero's toolkit is too advanced for my mind.
I remember because I started playing the hero when I was at 6k MMR. At that point, 6k was it was decent. There were no numbers back then. It was not top 200, but I'm guessing it was somewhat close. And I remember I lost 50 games in a row. I lost 50 ranked games in a row to learn this hero, and today, after 1,000 games on the Earth Spirit, there is still things to learn. So the hero is really really amazing. There is a lot of things, as you mentioned, that you can do on the hero, and you know, there's it's cool in Dota, but for some heroes it's particularly true that there isn't a one right way to play the hero. Maybe in terms of items, right now you're usually going to be going for an earn vessel BKB or an earn BKB as a support, but I see some mags from time to time, but it usually lasts for like a month and then people just stay away from it. But in terms of where am I going to rotate, how am I going to play the lanes, am I going to pull the wave, am I going to rotate to the mid lane, all of those things are up to the player to decide, and it's never easy to say, okay, that is the best play to make.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that most of them do pull the wave behind, because laning stage wise, the hero, like, he has a lot of kill threat, but actually laning, he is kind of weak. In most regards. I mean, if you're laning against a Warlock, that actually kind of changes things, because Warlock is also a weak laner, primarily focused for Warlock is healing up his core and maybe getting a nice Fatal Bombs on the enemy team during the lane to harass them a little bit. And with the Alchemist, actually not that bad. Fatal Bonds plus Acid Spray, the enemies do lose a lot of HP very quickly, but they needed a playmaker on YG side, and now both teams have that initiating playmaker on their side. The Marcy versus the Earth Spirit, so we're going to have a lot of heroes jumping all over the place this game.
Yeah, we definitely will, and I'm definitely on the Earth Spirit train. I don't know those Brazilian analysts that you've been talking to, but I don't like their points. I love my boy Earth Spirit, and I'm not gonna betray him like that. Still, Marcy, very annoying in the laning stage. The thing that the Earth Spirit lacks, as you mentioned, is laning stage strength. Well, Marcy is amazing at that, so I'm thinking that at least the laning stage for this hero is definitely better, and we'll see what Yangon want to put with it. Is it again gonna be a off-lane Alchemist, which would be really good with the Marcy, or will they pair it with some
Morphling?
Well, I assume that's going to be the case. It could still be a mid Alchemist for that matter, but the Morphling against the Razor, very stable hero, because you of course just steal the turn into the Razor, steal static link, steal back the damage that he's stealing from you. The only big problem is Earth Spirit's really good against Morphling, because you mentioned the Spirit Vessel builder. He rushes in quickly, instantaneous silence as well. Loves to play in the fog and just roll up from no man's land and be a massive surprise. And what is that coming into play? We get to see the Pudka.
Yep, Alchemist and the Morphling, so Ag Spudge, definitely gonna be amazing. We can assume this is gonna be a mid Pudge. Maybe an offlane Pudge or maybe an offlane Razor,
5
mid lane
seconds
Viper
remaining.
carry Pudge. Either way, whatever the case is, I hope it's a core. I don't think a support Pudge is something that you should be going for right now. The changes to the third spell really benefit him as a core, and it is one of those heroes, you know, that fat heroes really don't like playing against, because you want to posture aggressively, be all in your face with an alchemist when you have the ulti, and then you get hooked and die, especially if the Pudge has the axes, as we mentioned. So I'm liking that LBZS are going for this. These are some really strong meta heroes that they're getting right now, and it just goes to show that they're being serious. They don't want to be dropping down to the lower bracket.
They're definitely in a slightly more uncomfortable position here. I think
10
YG,
seconds
I really
remaining.
like the Pudge pick. I think it's one of the
5
most
seconds remaining.
the strongest heroes against a lot of these heroes in this current patch. You mentioned, of course, the Aghanim Scepter being so strong.
Dire team back.
It is ridiculous how much damage it does. He walks around the team fight and you just see players' HP bars just drop to nothingness, and the healing reduction, I think, also, like, is in every lineup this patch, you kind of are getting to the point where you need a Shiva's builder
seconds
or a
remaining.
Scotty
Radiant
builder or a
team
Spirit
back.
Vessel builder, and Pudge is, you know, that's the other outlier, the extra one that also has the healing reduction added into the mix, and I love it. It's insanely strong. It can be, of course, very easily countered if the enemy picks like an Ursa,
10
but
seconds
considering
remaining.
they already picked the Morphling, I doubt that they're going to go for an Ursa as their
5
last pick, and
seconds
then,
remaining.
you know what, swap the Morph to mid. It would be kind of
Dire
insane.
team
It would make a lot of sense against the Pudge, though, but for the most part, I really like LBZS's draft so far.
Radiant team
Yeah,
pick.
I don't think you can pick something like an Ursa. You're gonna be playing against the Viper, you know, he can just spit on you, and it's gonna be really tough. The Winter Wyvern does come out. I am hoping that this is a mid lane Winter Wyvern.
Anti-mage.
now
Against all of
select
these
your
fat heroes,
heroes.
it is actually gonna work. With the Anti-Mage coming out, I think it's gonna be a support Viper again. Yep, that's the case. I think support Pudge just doesn't work. This is a really good Winter Wyvern pick. I think this changes a lot. The Anti-Mage, not a hero with a ton of armor, so the Alchemist will be laning well against him. I think with these last picks, actually I'd say the drafts are quite even. I'm still gonna favor LBZS. I think they're a slightly better team, and the drafts are kind of even for me. But to be honest, oh, Kagome playing the Anti-Mage? Okay, yeah, he is the carry player. But this Winter Wyvern is looking amazing in this game, so I do think Yangon Galacticos have a chance.
I actually am going to go for YG, you know, might as well go against you 3 games in a row. And the main reason why is Wyvern is a hero that is really strong once he gets his items. His laning stage tends to be weak against almost anyone he plays. You know, if you are up against a Coddle, you're lucky. But for the most part, he should have a struggling laning stage. Can get the Witchblade, but he's probably going to be like 1,000, 2,000 net worth behind the enemy cores. And that's where the Alchemist comes in. He gets a free Axe from the Alchemist, and then all of a sudden, boom, Winter Wyvern is ready to play. Winter Wyvern is going to be super strong at that stage. Hard to catch as well. Earthspirit is a hero that can very solidly catch, depending on the build of Pudge as well. It is possible, but for the most part, you're going to be chasing after a Wyvern that is hasted and has unobstructed pathing. So it's going to be really hard, especially for like an Anti-Mage who also has a blink, but then you blink on top of Wyvern, and Wyvern's already gone the moment that you land.
I like all of the points that you made. Also, one thing in favor of Yangon Galacticos, I'm still not gonna flip-flop here. I do believe that the drafts are close and that LBZS are a slightly better team, but is that Young PH is a main
Prepare for
Morphling
battle.
player, meaning that he knows what his Morphling does want without KSH giving him the instructions constantly, or where he wants him to play and stuff like that. So with that being said, the Winter Wyvern will know how to approach this game just so that he can create space for the Morphling, and of course, as you mentioned, having the Axe, it's not gonna be that hard of a job for him to do.
And not that hopefully not that hard. It is, you know, Morphlings are always an interesting breed. I miss the E-Blade build. even though I'm a support player and it just like blows you up and it's sadness, but I like the dynamic of that it used to have. Unfortunately, that is now lost for the ages. But it is an interesting hero because most of the time you just build a bunch of stats, but there's a little bit of diversity in the draft. I would assume Dragonlance is, the most useful item to get on the Morphling. I have seen some Massive Madnesses. There are also some very weird people that go for Midas in that regard. Young PH taking some heavy damage here, but it's just harassment from both sides, and it should be a 2-for-2 bounty. Actually, will it be 2-for-2? Is the question. They are continuing. And the bounty actually gets picked up by Salad here. He's going to get stunned up, dropping low, kill secured. Morphling getting first blood. It is already weird that a Morphling is, by the way, fighting in the river for the first bounty runes of the game. That is something that does not really ever happen, and they should be able to find another kill. That's a really interesting pause timing coming through for the three YG play. Oh, you talked about the issues that they sometimes have, and hopefully that's not going to be the case here.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's not, because then it would in a really bad way screw with your prediction, and I'm not sure if you would ever come back from it. So for the mental health of my caster, please Yangon, do come back. But also we want to see the game. AT is gonna die here, but I think Pudge dies as well, and BP, look at BP and Detachment are actually sandwiching the side of Yangon, so they are actually gonna be able to maybe even clean up more heroes. Zorain is most likely gonna die, and KSH, if he doesn't TP out, yeah, he will TP, I guess.
Yeah, they'll get the kill, TP out. How many bounties actually were secured? I don't know. Did they get 3 or 4 on the side of LBZS?
I will say 3, because the bottom ones aren't there, and the anti-mage was the only one on the bottom lane. And you can see that on the map that they're not there. The top one is there. The top one is still there. I can see it.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit blurry for me, but yeah. YG, DC. Okay, they're continuing. The only one left in the game is the Elk, and that is not good. That is, I just, this is not a way that you want to lose the first series of the two. And my chance finally to get a little bit of a recovery in predictions.
Yeah, that would be nice. That really would be nice, DkTruman, for that. But you mentioned 4 heroes of theirs were disconnected. Alchemist was gonna die, so you can say that they pretty much have 5 useless heroes. It's nothing.
If they continue the game, he can play like a micro god and control his entire team, and then they all die. But yeah, it's you mentioned it previously. It's one of their biggest crutches on this side of YG. A very talented team that has a lot of potential, but always plagued by disconnection issues. I guess the infrastructure in Myanmar is not as solid as we would like it to be just yet.
There were some fighting in the streets. I don't know if it's still going on, but I remember Yangon Galacticos. They're like, "Are you guys safe?" And they're like, "Yeah. We're looking at the riots from our window," and we're like, Can you move your boot camp like a few streets away, please, so that you're okay? But yeah, so it was they're like, we're not gonna go, but we can still see and hear from our windows. So hopefully all of that is fine, and but you can still see that there are some power restrictions. I know that they had a power supply, like a battery of their own, but it still doesn't mean that their internet is gonna work. So there are a lot of problems which they were trying to find solutions to, but sometimes it's just out of your hands.
Yeah, it's it happens. Some countries are plagued a little bit more than others. It takes some time to catch up to having the solid power nets everywhere. Like even in a lot of like quote unquote first world countries, there are still a lot of regions where power outages happen, where the infrastructure has just not been updated for quite some time, and I guess that's the same in where they're living in Myanmar currently. Luckily enough, a lot of the other regions don't have that, or at least you rarely get to see that. The Filipino players, for instance, don't have that many issues. The Malaysians, to be fair, Malaysia has been like exceptionally solid in that regard over the last year. So there are definitely improvements, but there are some countries that are just plagued a little bit more than others, unfortunately. But yeah, right now it's also a very annoying moment in the game that it died, because I really want to know how it continues, who's going to be able to get away, who's going to all die, because I would assume that there's at least 3 more dying. Yeah, it's a cliffhanger and then some.
This is Topclan's. This is Topclan's actually doing it on purpose. They told the players, yo, disconnect now, just like every TV show does. And then everyone is just sitting at their PC and waiting for it and waiting. And then however it transpires, even if it ends up being a really boring series, you're still gonna get excited to see it. So maybe all of this is done on purpose. Obviously not the case, but one can dream.
Yeah, to be fair, you could also just do it like, okay, and that was it for today, and we'll see you guys next time to see the continuation of the of this fight continuing on. But well, yeah, it's an unfortunate timing, isn't it, Terry Freak?
Yep, it definitely is. It usually is when the fight is like that, though. Sometimes you get super excited about a fight, it stops. It's better to actually get a clear picture of what is going on. Okay, probably not better, the excitement then goes away, but sometimes knowledge is better than excitement. Sometimes.
Yeah, we will be going towards a short little break. Hopefully the issues get resolved and we won't have any more plagues coming in, so we'll be right back, hopefully for Game 3 continuation.
A continuum device. Here all along. I knew Valora was lying when she said Mars destroyed you. Well, where and when should we go first? Huh? Oh, great. What'd you do?
There was a thing in the woods. But once a year, it left the woods to feast on us. Then one year, out of the woods came nothing. Another year passed, and another. Over time, we forgot our fear. And turned our backs on the dark. Slivers of the mad moon hang forgotten in our sky, slowly aligning. It is time again. The tide rises and brings with it something dire.
let this party scene fool you. This world is a dangerous place. When you get to be my age, you'll see friends come and go. It's important to take care of the ones still kicking. In the heat of battle, you'd be surprised how far a little kindness might go. But not everyone deserves kindness.
Hello, Auntie.
This all you brought?
Yes.
Oh. Attaboy! I didn't offer to share.
Goodies! Yoink!
Any layman with a feeble grip can carve wood or hammer steel. Even the tender hands of a child can grasp a set of instructions. But to create something takes rare hands, shrewder hands, handsome, brilliant hands. The hands that forged the first scepter of power. My hands have slipped through dimensions, touching things that warp the mind and test the mettle of the strongest will. From the far reaches of the astral plane, beyond countless dimensions. Monsters, beasts, beasts without legs, beasts that are only legs, heroes that aren't heroes at all. I have brought them here to answer one simple question. Can your hands wield the true Aghanim scepter?
Oi, space face! Crack one! Ha-ha! Catch you never, Dingleberry!
Futile creature.
Huh? Munted. Now this I'm into.
A continuum device. Here all along. I knew Valora was lying when she said Mars destroyed you. Well, where and when should we go first? Huh? Oh, great. What'd you do?
There was a thing in the woods. But once a year, it left the woods to feast on us. Then one year, out of the woods came nothing. Another year passed, and another. Over time, we forgot our fear. And turned our backs on the dark. Slivers of the mad moon hang forgotten in our sky, slowly aligning. It is time again. The tide rises and brings with it something dire.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. We missed the entire fight,
Dire's
unfortunately.
turret has been killed.
But we are back in the game, and okay, so who did manage to die in the end? I guess the morph got out. I have no idea. Do you have
We will
an
get
inkling?
lynched. We will get lynched by the chat now. I mean, this is
A cliffhanger
not
that we
looking
don't get a resolution to. That is just very mean, unfortunately.
it is it's where things out of our control, so we're gonna ask for forgiveness, and hopefully Twitch chat and all of the Dota viewers, the amazing people that they are, they will forgive us and production as well for this one.
Yep. Though, let's see the lanes. How are they going? Anti-Mage is 7 denies and Wyvern 6 so far. Of course, Razor was joining the lane a little bit later in that regard, which is pretty good for the Wyvern considering it's a hero that tends to just get absolutely dumpstered in the laning stage. He's doing a pretty good job so far on Young PH, but his mana is running on empty, and that could be a problem. Detachments dropping low in the bottom lane. Again, on that Viper position 5. a hero that does not too much, I would say.
I mean, he's securing the farm for the AM. Last game, he was dying, but the TA was still farming quite well. So you could say that he's somewhat doing his job, though yet again, his job seems to be just death.
Yeah. It's a lot of physical damage between those two heroes as well. Civ Concoction physical, Acid Spray physical. Viper's pretty good against magic, but not so good against physical damage, and that definitely does to reign true right here. Pudge off lane looking okay against the Morphling. Morphling is still having some pretty good farm. Should not... I mean, you do have to be a little bit careful, because if you swap to Agi and you're just going to get rolled on or hooked, you do die. So there is a bit of a threat, but with waveform and staying at high enough HP, you should be just fine to not really fall in that top lane. However, Warlock is a different story. If he walks out of position once and gets rolled on or hooked, he's dead.
That is something that could happen over and over again in the top lane. We'll see if it does. But I have to say that early fight for Yangon, it really gave them a lot in terms of lanes. You get level 3 on the Morphling without much trouble, which is something that you don't see too often. And the Word Spirit, nice rotation towards the bot.
Should be able to get the kill there as well. Does mean that top lane is only solo Pudge, but they can't really harass the Pudge out of the lane regardless. With a Morphling Warlock lane. They did find another kill onto the detachment, but they at least found something in return. And they're giving this anti-mage a full free lane. 24 last hits, 12 denies. That is a superb start of his game at the very least. And he's going to be the scariest core this time around. No, definitely going to be the scariest core this game. I was thinking maybe the Wyvern, but that all depends on, you know, the Ag's timing from the Alchemist.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Wyvern is gonna be a nasty one to deal with, but Anti-Mage, if he has this good of a start... I'm a big fan of the Vanguard Diffusal AM, but yeah, with this good of a start, I'm guessing you just go for your Battle Fury. Might be a bit greedy to go that route, though. Once you get the Battle Fury, your timing is usually around 23-24 minutes in. You get Manta plus 1 item. That is your timing to fight. I guess Scotty is gonna be the choice in this game for sure. If that timing gets delayed a little bit, Morphling gets his BKB, you're gonna be in some trouble with this Anti-Mage. So I think if you're going for the Battle Fury, that the great start is something that you definitely need. You need a great lane if you're Kagome.
And luckily enough, he is getting exactly that. Levels upon levels as well. Alchemist not having the best just yet, but then again, Alchemist is also a hero that can fairly early walk in towards the jungle and continue the farming frenzy. They keep the Earth Spirit bottom, so they're essentially making it a tri-lane scenario. Yeah, you don't need to help Pudge. The Pudge just doesn't die top lane unless he makes a big mistake and dives the enemy's tier 1 tower. Morphling doesn't really want to aggressively try and hunt him. Warlock's even just focusing on stacking right now to make sure that the Alchemist, I guess, can quickly catch up in terms of the Ags gaining.
TP, that's gonna be cancelled, so nothing gonna happen there. But the Razor is losing the lane too much. This is not something that should happen. Again, something that transpired just because of the early fighting and PP was late to the lane. The Wyvern got those early last hits in, and now even though he is not getting that much with the Splinter Blast, he's still getting enough to stay ahead of the Razor. And Razor is a snowbally type hero. You need an early BKB, especially in a game where you have an anti-mage with you.
You need to get that early advantage. Speaking of which, they are chasing in after the very fast Alchemist. 45% movement speed is pretty good to be gifted. He just has enough mana to not get slowed by the AM and should be able to outrun him. The Boulder Smash. Oh, that right there is a strike from downtown from Salad. Beautifully done. And they will be able to get that kill secured on the Alchemist regardless. Mid PP dropping low. Fatal Bonds comes in as well. Young PH does unfortunately not have any mana, and even if he had mana, I think the best you could do there is Curse, which would, I guess, if the creeps come in and get a Splinter Blast, but you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda is a different story. Top lane though, Morphling solo against the Pudge, he is getting the freest of lanes possible.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we talked about the Pudge having the free lane, but the thing is, Pudge is a hero that utilizes his high attack damage to get more last hits. The thing is, Morphling doesn't care. He has better animation than you, and he can even have higher damage if he's mortal into agility, which is probably going to be the case. So you're trying now with the Pudge to just get him to morph more into strength so that you can somewhat prevent his farm. Because if he has like 100 damage with the Morphling, he will take away everything for you.
It's also not a bad game to like turn into the Razor, but you could also, in certain situations, turn into the Earth Spirit. Pudge, Anti-Mage is also not a bad hero to turn into this game. Like, he's got pretty good morph targets.
Probably not. Oh well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think, you know, in the mid game, you're gonna be turning into the Earth Spirit mostly, and if the Razor becomes a problem later on, you're gonna go into him. Though I would say Morphling this game should mostly turn into the Earth Spirit, just because, you know, it does allow you to get away from the Razor, and you don't really need extra damage. The damage from Yangon and Galacticos is gonna be sufficient, especially once the Winter Wyvern gets his axe.
It's also a question, of course, if he's going to get an axe from the Alchemist, or if Alk's just going to decide to farm for himself this time around. Top lane, yeah, it's just, there's not really, there's skill threat, but very little and nearly negligible. Young PH and Mig gets a little bit harassed. He is constantly kind of out of mana, trying to recuperate that mana pool on the Winter Wyvern, which is a little bit of a struggle. And last hits, I'm actually baffled he is third in net worth right now. That is way too much gained already. Skill Lay going in, actually tosses back PP, but now Skill Lay needs to be careful himself. He's going to get taken down, but PP should die in return. Young PH, actually the creep's getting the kill there. But it's still a big kill. Top lane though, that's a huge kill because they find the Morphling with a good rotation from Salad. Don't know necessarily the combination, but I assume a silence really did him dirty.
Yeah, you can silence him. You don't even have, you go for the roll, you kick in towards the Pudge, and then you silence him. I think that would be the best way to approach it, because if you silence him first, then the Pudge has to get close during the silence, and that isn't always easy. Though considering that the Pudge and the Morph were always kind of close to each other, you know, LBZS could have approached it any way they liked, and it's still gonna be fine.
Salad, yeah, he's definitely dead, because the Fatal Bonds would completely done him dirty anyway. So he does falter in the process. Alchemist has had a very rough bottom lane. He's still at least keeping up with PP in terms of net worth, surprisingly enough. PP going for that BKB first item rush. It is an okay item, but it's not like the end all to be all this game, because you are up against Wyvern, you are up against Warlock, and two very strong BKB piercing effects. Especially that curse can really be very problematic if Anti-Mage, for instance, gets on top of you, you just get melted. And Anti-Mage, yeah, he's Battle Fury is going to be insane fast.
It's just not a good Razor game. That is the reason they put him in the mid lane. So your job in this game is to run in and give vision to your team. Then Earth Spirit, he likes to see the heroes before he goes in, just like he saw the Wyvern, and they disposed of him easily.
It's actually a pretty big kill. Young PH now behind the Pudge in terms of net worth. Alchemist still at least getting some of the net worth he needs. And I think every game, YG's supports, they just really broke at the moment. Detachment's finding a little bit of farm, the Earth Spirit as well, but Warlock is not really a hero that farms that well, unless until you get Shard. Once you get Shard on Warlock, you can actually clear up camps. But for the most part, you are a walking creep. In this case, a walking creep that's going to give another Flesh Heap sack away. Young PH towards mid does get the kill onto PP though. That's a nice trade. You will lose the Warlock and give one strength, but at least you'll be able to knock down that Razor, who is falling further and further from the net worth chart.
It's not looking good. This mid lane tower though, Yangon, even if they get it, it's not that big of a deal. You don't have Link initiation other than the Marcy. You're not really going to be able to invade that much. So I'm thinking Yangon don't want to commit too much. The mid lane tower isn't that important for them, and considering they have a Winter Wyvern, they're okay with it remaining the status quo, at least around the mid lane for now.
they do have a lineup that can take Roche pretty quickly with the Wyvern. Sorry, with the Morphling and the
That is true.
and the Marcy. So if you get those top 2 towers taken down at a reasonable timing, it's nice. LBZS, they have a pretty good Roche fight lineup. They're not good at taking it though. Viper maybe once he gets the shard, but it's a position 5 support Viper. I think that's, you know, pretty low on his list of stuff he needs. Probably needs 4 staff this game specifically to be able to stay alive for a little bit longer and help out his teammates. But yeah, Roche is definitely an objective that YG are going to be eyeing up a decent amount this game.
Yeah, for sure. For sure they would like it though. They're on the dire side, so you know, actually dire side now early on is better at it. They did find young PH though. If he gets hooked, he is dead. Nice side steps.
Okay, the curse does get thrown out. Young PH is dropping low and is stuck on the high ground. In comes the charge forward. The heal, the Warlock going drop. He's gonna get taken down finally. They will find the Pudge in return at the very least. But that is a big kill. Young PH again out of commission. They need to keep that Wyvern low. He's now below the Alchemist and he's getting very close to PP in terms of net worth.
I'm liking that they are keeping him in check, considering how much he popped off on the Void Spirit in the last game, and it's kind of the same tactic coming out from Yangon Galacticos. You know that you can lose the game just off of that. And Young PH, we can see that he's not in best form. You know, even with that Void Spirit, he had so much, and he did die once or twice. So if you just keep him a little bit on the lower end of the net worth, you might be able to punish him even once he gets the axe.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
It is a hero that is susceptible to being caught. It doesn't really like building a 4-staff, even though Hurricane Pike is not a bad item at all. But once he gets bots plus Axe, he is going to be very elusive. The only problem is Earth Spirit is probably one of the only heroes that can constantly keep catching up to you. Anti-Mage is also pretty okay for that, but you know, you slow him once, Anti-Mage, he's pretty much only a blink every 6-7 seconds. Whereas an Earth Spirit, he's got to roll every 4 seconds, and if he's got enough of those rocks, he will be able to chase you into the ends of the earth.
That's probably going to be the case. You know, Anti-Mage will probably get the blink cooldown reduction at some point. He's going to be in your face even more. They do have tools on LBZS to go for him. The thing is though, they all of the heroes of LBZS want to be in your face, and that does give you a chance for a turnaround play, either with the Winter's Curse or with the Golem. So LBZS are going to have to be really careful how they play this one. I think you want to fight in an open area if you're LBZS, so that you can run circles around your opponents. So ideally you fight in the bottom big jungle or the top big jungle, not in the enemy triangles or around lanes.
Solid got spotted right there, but will be able to get himself out of dodge. It's a hasted Wyvern though. Winter's Curse holds him down. Solid's just gonna get chunked out, and Young PH gets the kill. That's with a haste rune. He doesn't have the Ags yet, but it is pretty much as good as done. So it can get delivered to the Wyvern soon enough, and then we're gonna have a very interesting prospect this game.
And you kind of get a feel of the movement speed that you're going to be sporting once you do have the axe, because it just gives you amazing movement speed. Once you use the Arctic Burn, the Wyvern will be flying around. You mentioned the Boots of Travel. With those two, you're pretty much at max movement speed. So this is something that LBZS are going to be dealing with a big Frost Dragon just running towards you and killing you.
Yeah, you should be happy that Morphling Ags has been changed, that he can't morph in his allies anymore, because otherwise you could have had a very fun game of double Arctic Burn charge at the enemies. They are going to go in for the Fudge. He is in a world of hurt. They're pretty deep though, but no TPs coming in to interrupt it. They just want to make sure that the Anti-Mage gets farmed. Young PH did get a free Ags, so as you can see, he's top net worth of the game all of a sudden, magically.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
Yeah, right now it's dodge time for LBZS. In my mind, if I was LBZS now, I would be offering this Viper to die every single time, just a little bit farther away from the base. So I'm not liking the detachment's positioning right now, because at the tower they can always just kill him, and it's not gonna it's not gonna take much time away from Yangon. Sure, they can't push, but this is the area that they want to play. So I'd like the Viper to die somewhere deep on the bottom lane or somewhere deep on the top lane, and him playing in the mid lane is just always gonna be an easy target.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, Wyvern is just an extra in this case, or Earthspit possibly as well if you can get a couple of rolls going deep. The Pudge's Axe is getting fairly close, and it is amazing. I think it's 25% healing and regen reduction, which, I mean, if you look at YG's lineup, they literally have 5 heroes that bring in healing. So any healing reduction is amazing. Anti-Mage with the Scotty as well is going to be a must-have. Maybe a Shiva's on the Razor just for good measure later down the line as well. I think maybe going for like the magic damage kind of Razor build with a possible like Heaven's Halberd could be very useful. I think he just needs to bulk up and make sure that he does not, that he at least can keep the enemies at bay so that the anti-mage can go to town.
Yeah, it's all about survival on the Razor. You know, the refresher does help you in that regard if you have the double BKB, and also being able to do more damage. Obviously, people are then going to be running away from you. But yeah, PP needs to be the one to run in first and actually create problems for Yangon Galacticos in a fight.
And they are going to smoke out LBZS, looking for a catch. Warlock's not really the one that you want, but the rest is not in the YG jungle. And they are going to be roaming about. That Morphling also has a lot of farm, by the way. It's not only the Wyvern. That Morphling is super huge. Does have a problem once his mana gets drained. They are going to go in for a fight. That's a big catch. That's going to be the Warlock almost taken down. Does he get the Golem off? No, he does not. But they will find PP in return. That's going to be one of the main cores taken care of. That Wyvern's just burning away at the HP pool of the Fudge. Slowly but surely, they find the supports, but the cores are still alive, and that's the problem. Anti-Mage, you know, it's a hero that does not really want to fight until he has that Scotty. He can possibly do something, but for the most part, you need the Scotty. Otherwise, you're just sitting duck every fight.
And that's a perfect start to the fight for LBZS. They just can't win it. You have the Spudge, and you're looking at them as this strong tank, but there's nothing that he can do. Let's see now. They're gonna try to steal the Aegis here, and I think you're kind of at that time when you need to be making some of these plays, giving the support slide for a potential like that. He's actually gonna go in at a good time.
Get the kill, steal. No, he does not. He gets nothing. He just gets obliterated. And that's going to be the Aegis for the Morphling, so you're going to have to kill him off twice. And yeah, you mentioned it. That was a fight where they got like a super good jump. Because no Warlock Golem was being able to get dropped. They find both the supports very quickly. Of course, I think a buyback was used on Marcy. But regardless, that was a super good engagement. PP doesn't have his BKB available. And look at the damage coming out from the Wyvern. It is actually pretty insane.
Yeah, it's dumb how much damage he does. That is why when I saw the Viper, Pudge, and the Razor, I'm like, this Wyvern is gonna destroy them. And LBZS, they turn it around a bit with the anti-mage pick. But I still think the part of the map that LBZS are playing is wrong. You cannot keep dying on your side of the map. The bottom and the mid lane should be out of bounds if you aren't going.
At one point, you're gonna be 1v